chills sometimes listening to Joe read. This is the second time I've been fortunate enough to listen to him read, and his books are on the table back there. And we also have Joe's book in the local section, which is really the heart of the store. And whenever I walk past it, I recognize names that I know. And it's a good feeling, and Ryan's book's going to be here soon, too. So Ryan Sharp. Ryan Sharp is a PhD candidate in the English department at the University of Texas at Austin, where his research focuses on contemporary Black American persona poetry and archive. His poetry and reviews have appeared in several journals, including Callaloo, Copper Nickel, and PANK. He lives with his wife and 2 children in Austin, where he serves as the editor of Borderlands, which is also there in the local section, Texas Poetry Review, and has Writer's Studio Coordinator at Huston-Tillotson University. Please welcome Ryan Sharp.
Thanks, Joe. That was great. And your bio is so modest because there's like about 10 million things I could think of that aren't on there. Because Joe's also the co-host of a great radio show called Writing on the Ear. He's very involved with the Chicago Street Poets. He's got his hands in just about every kind of cool thing that's going on in Austin. And so I don't even think you listed your book in your bio. So I was very happy when he agreed to read with me today. So thank you very much. And thank you also to Malvern. I'm excited to have this chapbook launch, but it wouldn't be possible. I won't say too much because otherwise I'll get kind of choked up. I won't be able to read without my wife, Abigail, here, bringing the stability to my life. That made it possible for me to write some things down. Because some of the poems, as you may hear, are not easy poems. But I think I went through some of the things in this book so that I could get to the good things like my wife and my kids and where I'm at now. And so I'm very thankful and blessed. This is my chapbook, my imaginary old man poems. Quick kind of note about some of these poems. They're kind of written in a very weird fashion where there's no punctuation and there's no real end stops, and so they kind of all bleed together, and some of the clauses kind of are meant to be read in different sentences, and so they're kind of difficult to read sometimes, but I'm going to give it my go. Also, they're all 10-syllable lines, so it's kind of like a play on sonnets, but they're not really sonnets. And they don't have titles, so I'm just going to read one after another. This is a good place to begin. From here, my imaginary old man appears, something beginning. Here, in the event, beginning is such a thing. For the old man, the doorway is a beginning. The wood porch in peeled paint, the uneven rotted steps, the drive leading to the road, rumbling over the bridge, following the river, past hills, leaning into where the big sky begins. Surely there is a beginning. Something is perceived first as a shadow, then a bear, then a small child, then bear. The sky is perceived as the ocean, then a small redness. All that begins does so in many ways, which is to say that there is no end to it, which is to say that when nothing happens, he waits for it to begin. Whatever it is that is beginning, we are getting closer. Some light falling, some hinge, some door closing softly as if for forever, and again forever. In dreams, there is still the dream where he is, or he was, different. Everything was, the tree bent, its shadow toward the road, not the river. The lilies pushing up the hill into the mountain hold their tongues, the blind flowers each lying upon each needing each. No rough hand filching what few white petals. How the bridge did not shake here, the temple is made out of breath, not mud and bricks. He remembers there being a child somewhere off in his periphery, but that is as far as it goes, the dreaming, that is, still the waking and the living. My imaginary old man is here despite what they say here. He knows he is here. Even the unreal get their own song. The unreal still feel at least their own song, have worn like an old tree in several directions at once, have drawn into the night as the tree wears. He draws into the night as the song dies behind the tree. He says, if I stay here long, trouble will find me. He says, if I stay, I may never leave. I want to hold time still like stone. I want to hold it down and breathe its feathers in. My imaginary old man, himself a bird like time, his arms held out flying. I follow him, a bird, our mouths knives, our hands cupping air, wings casting long shadows. They seem to mean something, but they do not. They're only our bird shadows, which seem enough or not enough. If I go now, he says, there might still be time to forget. Soon will be time to leave, but where? He is always leaving somewhere, always. He made me how I am, he made me who. If one counts time, we are three birds in one. Is flint to stone tool to twig feathering fire, is full of 4 or 5 different types of want, and want is everywhere now, but only sometimes, is skin past flesh to bone, and time is flecks of bright gold stitched into dry mud, flat as seeds wishing, is please in the dark, is not dream, and dream is not what was said, but also is every word of it, is butterfly old light, and cave is often listening, meaning silent, is trying to regain control of his own image, is both water warping and drinking straw, is exit wounds and theme park churro, is steeped in part truth and part pure cane sugar, is complicated, is space between wing and church, is split seams and bridges falling down, is odd flight but intentional, is white dress shirt and spilt wine, is home but far from it, is new song but old words I know. There's also, most of them are 10 syllable lines like that, but then I also have these kind of broken haikus. Joe read a haiku, and so I might read a couple of the little kind of haiku plus twos. Instead of 5-7-5, which a haiku is, they're 5 syllables, 7-7. Last night he dreamt bougainvillea spilled over his head like a tsunami. The old bell, his throat cracked, clang, sang out a blue note, the bone tone, moment, bone dry. Let's see. Do one more of those ones. All he ever did, he says, was paint bright sunlight on the side of the blue house. It's a segue to this, I believe. The red oak broken, the yellow lawn broke, the old red brick house broken, juiced for all its copper, the red door broken, his room breaks off the end of the hallway he broke, his armchair broke, his hands broken shovels, his shoulders break downward, his voice breaks, a broken pipeline, his 2 ears broken torches, his eyes crushed white calla lilies broken, he says history is something else, his words torn lemons, his broken burden, the scratched records, his children, broken songbirds, his wives, string and paper cups. I think I'm only going to read a couple more of these and then you got to buy the book to get the rest of it. My imaginary old man, himself an archive, having already cornered the market on utterance, meaning he keeps memory on a tight leash, meaning this is as he wishes, meaning he cannot help himself. Even for him, ideas are constructed within the constraints of what can be imagined when his eyes are closed. 3 old men who have yet to be appear, seated around a candle lit, bare chest to chin by thin fire, small black pools tucked inside the cradles of their collarbones. The dark outside the old men beneath his eyelids, vaster for the candle, and then defining the dark big, the darkness too, a plinth the old men have yet to leave. That imaginary old man could sing hymns all day with his eyes closed, his upturned palms testing the stale canary yellow air for the perfume of broken songbirds. Blue notes trembling out of tired throats, they can live again in his riverbed hands, his slow curling fingers, Lazarus plants killing themselves a little to live. I'll read this last one because it kind of feels like it. That's a bit closer. My imaginary old man could have been a minister before one of his wives packed the minivan during his day shift. He says often, it is easier not to be right. I say, I believe in a few things. It is what it is, he says. He never knows what day it is. The man never really needs to be anywhere but home. He says, that would be nice, I say. In my last dream, my imaginary old man holds out his hand to me. I think I take it, but whoever really knows, the old day doesn't bring light like it should. The wet grass stays damp under the lawn chairs. Singing in the rain, the old man holds still. He sings, so I sing. His eyes close, my eyes close, our wide open mouths catching fire. Thank you. These are a couple poems that aren't in the chapbook, but I've eventually hope to keep working on them. Let's see. Let's start with this one. I'll probably read two more. The enormous hole. 3 brothers sit in a room with an enormous hole in the wall. It is very cold. The first brother says, we should do something about the hole in the wall. It is very cold. Weeks later, the second says, we should do something about the enormous hole in the wall. It has frozen our mother. Months passed. The third feels the hole in the wall is what chased away their father. The first asks, can anyone see our sister through the hole in the wall? After spending the better part of their 20s observing the hole in the wall, the brothers decide to give it a name. Folding paper. 3 brothers are at the kitchen table folding memories like paper into birds. The first says, I will fold the memory of us up too late watching Arsenio flash his immense teeth into a white loon hovering over green water. The second says, I will make the image of our father, handgun perched on the passenger seat, into a sparrow hemmed in a bluebird box. The third feels the story of their mother explaining AA over dollar sundaes is too brittle to be bent into a hummingbird. The first asks, when will our sister be back with more? The brothers know nothing of origami, but everything about erasure, how the moments hang prettier from the ceiling when given feathers, wings. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming out. I mean, it's rare that you hear poems that fill an entire room, and I think the poems we heard filled the room. So, anyway, thank you so much. And please, I'm sure both poets would be willing to sign the books for you. And thanks for coming to Malvern.